again. I went live and the audio didn't work right for some reason.
Mandated for any populations, perhaps for school-age children?
No. I don't think you'll ever see a mandating of vaccine, particularly for the general public. Sometimes in the health sector, like in my hospital here at NIH, you're not going to be allowed to go on the ward unless you get a flu vaccine. But you would never mandate, at least I do not think you would. I'd be pretty surprised if you mandated it for any element of the general public.
Now, as a primary care physician myself, who's had many conversations around vaccine safety with patients, I'm curious, what's our contingency plan for people who might refuse the vaccine?
Well, I mean, they have every right to refuse vaccine. I don't think you need a contingency plan. If someone refuses the vaccine in the general public, then there's nothing you can do about that. You cannot force someone to take a vaccine.
Alright, so I uploaded that to TikTok to try and reach more people, because if you might or might not know this, but YouTube has put a stranglehold on how many people I can actually reach now. Unfortunately, my videos don't get suggested to even my subscribers because of, well, very complicated censoring type reasons. I mean, I have some XJW videos back in the day that got 100,000 views. Now, it doesn't matter what the content is. At maximum, I'll get like 300. So I decided to make a TikTok video to get this interview out there from Fauci a year ago saying you would never mandate vaccines to the general public, at any rate. And I just think that it's an alarming change up from what we're seeing today. Biden, the president, he's absolutely mandating the vaccines. Employers, corporations that have 100 employees or more are now forced to make their employees get the jab, otherwise they'll fire them, because the government will fine these corporations quite a huge penalty if they don't. So this goes against what our health experts, what Pappa Science said a year ago. And I just thought it was alarming, and I also wanted to show you some of the, oh wow, the mental gymnastics that people who are ideologically captive to the social club of the COVID narrative, far leftists, extreme leftists, wanted to show you some of the comments that they made on this video. I got like 2,000 views on this on TikTok, by the way. Like 321 people liked it and quite a few comments. Some of them were pretty low energy, like this one from Nacho Business says, yeah, because at that time they thought people were going to be smart enough to get vaccinated on their own. He was wrong. There's so much wrong with that comment that it's hard to begin to tackle it, but my response was no. He clearly said people have the right to refuse the vaccine and that you would never mandate it. And we'll play that again.
It might be mandated for any populations, perhaps for school-age children?
No. I don't think you'll ever see a mandating of vaccine.
I don't think you'll ever see a mandate of it to the general public.
But you would never mandate, at least I do not think you would. I'd be pretty surprised if you mandated it for any element of the general public.
You would never mandate it. At least I wouldn't think that you would. Like the thought of doing so is so funny. It's laughable. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that it's laughable to him that you would mandate the vaccine to the general public. But the language is very strong. You would never do this. So for you to say, oh, well, at the time they thought people were going to be smart enough to get vaccinated on their own, that's flawed. That makes no sense. And another reason why it doesn't make sense is that a lot of people did get vaccinated. It's something like 70% of the population got the jab. So nothing about your comment, Nacho Business, if that is your real name, Makes any sense? Her response to me was, okay, and things have changed, and I'm pretty the POTUS is the one putting mandates, not Fauci. Everybody in the comment section who is completely intellectually dishonest, and the ones doing mental gymnastics for the sake of their social club, um, they do this. They say, well, things have changed. I'll show you some more comments later where they're like, oh, well, things have changed. No, that's not how this works. If you listen to Fauci's statement, he said you would never
What's our
mandate.
contingency plan for people who might refuse the vaccine?
Well, I mean, they have every right to refuse vaccine. I don't think you need a contingency plan. If someone refuses the vaccine in the general public, then there's nothing you can do about that. You cannot force someone to take a vaccine.
It says you have every right to refuse.
Well, I mean, they have every right to refuse vaccine. I don't think you need a contingency plan. If someone
might be
You have every
mandated
right.
for any populations, perhaps for school-age children.
No, I don't think you'll ever see a mandating of vaccine, particularly for the general public. Sometimes in the health scene, but you would never mandate.
There you go.
At least I do not think.
You would never mandate. All right, so for somebody to say, for Pappa Science, our leader, the health experts, Daddy Science, for him to say you would never mandate it, that takes into account any possible eventuality, any possible new information, anything that might pop up in the future, any scenario. Doesn't matter. You would never mandate a vaccine. Why? Because it's a principle. He knows this, or he knew that then. Now all of a sudden, he decides to completely back the idea of mandating a vaccine, even though a majority of the population received the jab. Even though it hasn't seemed to do a whole lot to slow or stop the spread. There are breakthrough cases, which, by the way, they're not breakthrough cases, they're just cases. You know, we're calling them breakthrough cases to suggest that you have such great effective protection, somehow COVID just defeated it and got through, but really they're just cases. Hate to break it to you. Yeah, so in spite of that, he's now for mandating it. He's not been vocally against mandating it. You haven't seen him, even though he seemed pretty passionately against mandates a year ago, you don't see him sticking to that now. Surprise, surprise. Which I think is very interesting. Also, it's also in spite of the fact that a lot of the science now suggests that people who had COVID and recovered from it have really strong natural immunity that's on par, if not better, than vaccine protection. In spite of all of that, we're still, for some reason, okay with mandating the vaccine. We're urgently trying to get the jab out to every single person, even small children now. Interesting. It's funny. It's funny how people can jump to defend this blatant turnaround as if this is all normal, sane, and rational. Let's see. No one is going to restrain you and vaccinate you against your will. Now, this is something I want to get into because this is a really important point. People who are captive to this ideology, this groupthink, the social club, they will often say, well, the mandates aren't forcing you to get the vaccine. That's not what it's doing. You have options. You have choices. You can be fired. You could quit your job. You can this, that, this, that, this, that. No one's actually forcing you to get the vaccine. Well, that's interesting because listen to what Fauci says when asked about mandates. Um, he equates mandates with being forced to do something himself. This is Pappa Science. This is your godly figure, the minister of your church here. Listen to how he equates mandates as being force.
There's nothing you can do about that. You cannot force someone to take a vaccine.
So when talking about mandates, he says, no, you can't force someone to take a vaccine. Even your leader, Pappa Science, knows that mandates is a type of force on the general public. I mean, at the very least, you can call it coercion, but it's definitely forcing people because, I mean, how many people can just so easily be fired from their job and still provide for themselves and their family? You know, it's not always easy for people to just get a different job. I mean, Jesus, in today's economy, you may have a specific set of skills, and the job market for that position could be incredibly competitive. I mean, or it could just be like there aren't a lot of job openings for your specific trade. You know, you may have busted your ass to get where you are. You know, start at the bottom, now we're here type of situation. And now people are saying nobody's forcing you because you can just be fired or you can quit or you can get a different job. Wow. By the way, these are the compassionate ones. These are the ones who's like, well, if it only saves one life, it'll be worth it. Where's the compassion in being so cold and callous to not give a fuck that you're forcing people to be fired or quit their jobs, essentially robbing them potentially of the ability to provide for themselves and their children? You don't think that's going to kill people? You don't think that suicide rates are going to skyrocket even more than they have since the beginning of the COVID lockdowns and such? Um, that's how you know these people don't actually have any compassion in their hearts, and that's not what this is about. This is about my team versus your team. They will follow their team's bullshit all the way until people are being put in concentration camps. Make no mistake about it, because they are doubling down on their ideology. They're never going to reevaluate their stance on this shit, no matter how sick and fucked up and totalitarian, authoritarian it becomes. And so that's why I do what I do, because, I mean, they have to be exposed. This hypocrisy, this mental disorder that's so rampant right now, the COVID panic above all other things has to be pushed back on, or we're not going to recognize anything about our culture anymore. And just to reinforce that, this is Nacho Business again, the champion for saving people's lives and humanitarian. She's just so compassionate. She says, nope, they're just not going to be able to do anything in public. Laughy face, laughy face, laughy face. Because it's so funny that the people on the other team won't be able to sit down in a restaurant, won't be able to go fly on an airplane to visit their relatives or travel. It's just so funny that these people won't be able to participate in the pursuit of normal living. They won't be able to participate in society anymore. That's just so hilarious to Nacho Business here, because she's just such a humanitarian and a bleeding heart, and she just cares so much about people. It doesn't matter that these people that she's laughing at already have natural immunity because they already had COVID. It doesn't matter that a lot of these people are just concerned for their health and potential long-term effects that might pop up. I mean, do you know how much money law firms have made over the course of the years from pharmaceuticals rushing pills, selling these pills to people, and turns out they had horrible long-term effects, wrecked people's health. You see the commercials all the time. The law firms are like, do you or someone you know, love suffer from this, and this due to taking a pill back in the 90s? If so, you're entitled to compensation. Call us now, because our law firm is filthy fucking rich from from suing the hell out of these corporations, these pharmaceutical companies that rush this pill without doing proper study on it. You see these ads all the time. There's entire law firms. Their entire practice rests on suing pharmaceutical companies. It happens. You know it happens. But you're being intellectually dishonest, and you're attacking and ridiculing people who rightfully have some hesitation over this brand new medical technology. This is not the same as vaccines in the past. That's something that comes up all the time. This is nothing new. All 50 states require vaccinations to attend public school. You can check your K through 12. Checkmate. Ha 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 ha. We've always required vaccines for public school. So intellectually dishonest, because those vaccines, we've had decades to study what they do, what the long-term effects are, and those are pretty standard vaccine technology, right? You introduce your body to a dead version of the pathogen or the virus, so your body has a chance to become familiar with it and build up immunity to it. That's completely understandable. That all makes sense. It's nothing like this new vaccine. This new vaccine does not work like that. Ask Pappa Science. He'll tell you, no, this is a new technology. Okay, it's something like a synthetic artificial immune response that you're triggering in your body. And you're trying to equate apples with oranges here and be all smug about it, like you just got me. Oh, you're so smart. You got me. Checkmate. And I'll have you know that a lot of countries, some European countries, they don't force public school kids to take any kind of vaccines. So you're not as smart as you think you are there, sir. And then, so we had that comment. Then, just in true fashion of the extremist left, you'll see the same comment over and over and over again, because they can't come up with anything new. They just regurgitate, copy and paste their propaganda and their talking points. It's true, nothing new here to see. I had to present my children's vaccine records 25 years ago when I enrolled them in school. Yeah, you're just repeating the same comment. You guys, you realize that's what you do? That's how I know when a mindset or an ideology is in cult territory. When you already know what they're going to say, their responses always end up being the same copy and paste shit. That's how you know that there's groupthink. That's how you know that there's thought control. Give me something interesting. Give me an actual argument to the points that I'm making. That would be great. But you're not going to get that from the CNN people. Alright, and people are like, oh, well, Fauci isn't the one doing the mandates, it's Biden. Fauci advises Biden, you know. And at the very least, if this is how Fauci felt a year ago, why is he now done a 180? There's no legitimate reason for him to go back on it. If anything, he should be reminding the president and reminding the people that this is not ethical. Because as he said, you have every right to refuse a vaccine. A year ago, that's what he said. You don't just change your mind on a core principle like that unless you're corrupt. Nothing happened between now and then to completely do a 180 on statements like you would never mandate. You have every right to refuse. Nothing changed to demand such a 180 to such very powerful language like that. I mean, most of the population got the jab. I mean, honestly, more people got the jab than I even thought they would, considering how new this technology is, considering how It's been proven to trigger heart inflammation in rare cases, and there are some other side effects that are popping up now, adverse effects they're called. Just the fact that it was rushed, it's shocking how many people actually received the vaccine. So I would love someone to explain to me what could have possibly turned this guy's very strong language completely around. Alright guys, Faithful Slave, I really hope that this time the audio picked up, because last time I did this, you couldn't hear my video, which defeated the whole purpose of the video. So tell me what you think in the comments. Do the best you can, guys, to remain informed and to cause awareness to the people you love and friends and family. Still planning on trying to do something on November 5th, whether it be just holding a sign up somewhere in public about this, because remember the 5th of November, right? You should look up the plot of V for Vendetta. It's amazing how many works of fiction are now real life. Scary times. 1984 is here. Fateful Slave.